Hello YouTube, Chris back again, here from Top Notch Sports, of course. This is the second part of the NFL predictions segment. This is on the NFC. You guys could check that video out, comment, subscribe, of course. And so let's get into my predictions. Again, same thing as last time. Background on the team, maybe some things that they did that impressed me, that I like. And reasons as to why they will get the record that I predict they will get. Number one, I have the Seattle Seahawks. They were 11-5 last season. Last season was kind of their first year being a good team. I feel like they can only go at least a little bit up. So I say 12-4. Great defense. They not only can they pressure the quarterback with the best of them, but they're just physical in the secondary. They got the two very good big physical corners on the outside, Sherman, Browner. You got a guy like Winfield who can now cover in the slot, make the middle of the field a little tougher. Got a guy like Cam Chancellor who lays big hits. They're just overall physical defense. There's nothing that their defense can't do. They have a great home field advantage. They have an elite halfback, Marshawn Lynch, a young and improving Russell Wilson, who his receivers were, I want to say last, but they were towards the very bottom in receptions last year. Young receivers, Doug Baldwin, Golden Tate, they're only going to get better. Their chemistry with Wilson's only going to improve due to experience. And then, hopefully Sidney Rice for them could stay more healthy because he's a good tall body wideout. And you saw their improvement in the playoffs. Their passing attack was much better. Their receivers were, making plays. You got a guy like Zach Miller who has a new established chemistry with Russell Wilson. You saw that in the playoffs, especially in the Falcons game. So they could really improve there in that area. And that was the only thing that was, not that great necessarily last year. So, and that's going to be much better this season. You got Russell Wilson, very good quarterback, of course. I don't think they tried to put together a dream team like the Eagles did a few years ago, and you usually see that type of thing, that type of scenario fail. This isn't a dream team. The core is still intact. No one's stepping aside for anyone else. They just made a bunch of solid additions to solidify their football team and their roster, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, on their front. The better your defensive front is, the better your defense is, and their defense was already top 5 last year. It could end up being number 1 this year. A great all-around defense. So I feel like that is solid evidence, based on what they did. Of course, you got to go out and play the game as to why they'll go 12-4. Number 2, I got the Falcons at 12-4. They're not going to cruise to a 13-3 record like they did last season. The division's going to be tougher. You got the Buccaneers made a few good additions in their secondary, because they have a good front that could improve their defense. You got a guy like Doug Martin who really was a fine rookie last season. He's only going to get better due to experience. Buccaneers, the Panthers, you got to look at them. They finished pretty strong last season. I feel like they're trying to take care of their defense a little more. Maybe they could start running the football better, but just naturally they're going to be better than last season. They have some young guys like Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly, guys like that. I feel like they're going to get better. And then you can't forget about the Saints. They're on my list as well. They were 7-9, but they were still a tough matchup last year. They're going to get better. They get their coach back. New defensive coordinator for a very porous defense last year. So they're not going to cruise to their record, but I say they go 12-4. Still that elite passing attack, 2 great receivers, great tight end, a guy like Matt Ryan, who's a very good quarterback in this league. More of a run game now with Steve Jackson. I feel like Michael Turner was kind of burnt out last season. They didn't really, not that they had to, but they didn't really have much of a rushing attack. Now you have a top 10 running back basically in Steven Jackson, who's going to be great in the red zone. Is even going to improve that passing attack, because now you want to pay extra attention to the pass game. You're going to have a guy who's going to hurt you, Steven Jackson. So I say, and their defense is serviceable. So I say they go 12-4. Packers, 11-5. Tough division, so it's going to be a dogfight for them. But they have arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers. Their line is a little bit, actually very porous, their offensive line. But, that might be in part to lack of a run game. So, Aaron Rodgers is dropping back, you can bring the heat. Now that you got 2 guys, especially Eddie Lacy, terrific college player, Jonathan Franklin, a very good college player, who can run the ball and take a little pressure off of Aaron Rodgers in terms of seeing so many blitzes, just natural pressure on him, and he won't have to, escape the pocket as much to avoid such a rush. Now they have a run game that they can go to, take a little pressure off the pass game. They still have a great receiving core, one of the best receiving cores in the National Football League. I say they go 11-5. New York Giants 10-6. New York Giants were 9-7 last year with a very bad defense, and lacked a run game. They still have one of the best quarterbacks in the game in Eli Manning. They have a lot of motivation this season. They missed the playoffs, I think, like 3 of the last 4 years or something, except for, when they won the Super Bowl. Give them a lot of credit. But a lot of people kind of said, oh, they're a fluke. They just made one good run. They missed the playoffs last season. I feel like this team thrives under motivation. You've seen that with their 2 Super Bowl runs, and when this team plays motivated, this team plays fantastic. So their pass rush, they added more depth to their defensive line, which kind of last year kind of lacked depth. Fresh guys they could bring in off the bench. They add more depth to their secondary. Fresh guys that could go in and cover. Their secondary's below average last season, but that will improve now with the pass rush, which I think will be there this season. And I also feel like by default they kind of rise above the rest. The Cowboys, they just seem like they can't get it done over and over. I don't really feel like they're ready to take the next step. The Eagles aren't ready. They're a 4-12 football team last year. They still have plenty of work to do before they're a playoff team. I just don't think that team's ready, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The Redskins are contingent on Robert Griffin III's health. I don't know, guys. I don't know if this guy can stay healthy. He's had 2 ACL surgeries. He had injuries before he even had the ACL operation dating back to last season. The read option, people are going to pick up on this read option. People just didn't know it last year. And Alfred Morris, that was his first year being a great back. Now there's more of a game plan or a blueprint set out on the Washington Redskins this season. I don't think they could duplicate a 10-6 performance again. So I'm going to say the New York Giants take the NFC East with the 10-6 record. Oh, also with the New York Giants, they have more of a run game this season. I forgot to add that. I apologize. David Wilson seems like a great young back. Andre Brown, also a great underrated young back. So that could take a little pressure off of Eli Manning and the great passing attack that team has. Number 5, New Orleans Saints going 11-5. This team went 7-9 without a coach. So getting their coach back, that could take them to double-digit wins alone. That had a demoralizing effect last season. One of the worst defenses of all time. I don't think they're going to be that bad again. You bring in a great coordinator like Rob Ryan who can scheme it out, who can improve that team's defense. So all in all, they went 7-9 with that. Think what they could do with all these factors back. I say they go 11-5. You still got one of the top 5 quarterback in the game in Drew Brees. And he has weapons around him like a Marcus Colston, like a Jimmy Graham. Pretty good running game with the Pierre Thomas and a Mark Ingram that could help out Drew Brees. So I say they go 11-5. Number 6. Now this may cause some discrepancy, but I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers going 11-5. This team went 11-4-1 last season in an easier NFC West. The NFC West is going to be tougher. You got the Rams who made some moves, got some help for Sam Bradford on the line, and in terms of guys you can throw the ball to. The Cardinals finally got a quarterback, and they already have a solid defense, one of the best, not just receivers in the game, but in my opinion, players in the game, and Larry Fitzgerald. They're going to be better. Seahawks going to get better. Last year was their first year of being a good team. So, and they went 11-4-1 last year. I said they go 11-5 this season. Colin Kaepernick, I'm not completely sold because not everyone was prepared for him. Not everyone had a lot of footage of him and film on him. The read option, again, not a lot of people knew the read option. Now the read option's out there. I think defenses will eventually learn to stop it. He is heavily reliant on running, and those quarterbacks don't last. So I want to see if this guy can stay healthy for a full season. So I say 11-5. But you could flip them with the Seahawks. They could end up being the number 1 seed. I say they lose to the Saints this season, though, because they beat them the last 2 seasons. I think it's very difficult to beat a team 3 times in a row. Any team, but particularly the New Orleans Saints, who are a terrific football team. I think they were a terrific football team. I think they'll be good again this season. So I say the 49ers go 11-5, but I could see them being number 1. It's just, Seahawks, 49ers, they're kind of, I think they're going to be neck and neck. So that's my predictions, 1-6, and reasons as to why. Comment, subscribe to my channel, of course, and I'm going to start uploading these videos to Twitter, at sports_notch. Hit me up there. I respond to everyone. I follow everyone if you follow me, of course, and I appreciate your time. Thanks.